Danny Truth Magnified.
We know that Saturn is dealing with the material world and our attachment to the material world, which in theory would keep us attached to Satan. And then of course, Satan is leading us right back to Saturn. And where did we get that concept for Satan? From the god Pan. And remember, we've got the moon Pan creating those sine waves in Saturn's rings. And when you look at those sine waves from a mathematical perspective, those sine waves are called Sine. And remember, time flows on a sine frequency. So literally, time flows on a frequency of Sine. And then you've got that cosine wave that attaches itself to that sine wave and gets caught up in the same frequency as that sine wave. So you've got that cosine wave attaching itself to that frequency of Sine, getting stuck in that infinite cycle of time. And remember, we talked about how this could connect to the idea of reincarnation and our attachment to Sine, aka our lower nature, keeping us stuck in the cycle of reincarnation and being sent back here over and over again. And how Saturn is kind of like the engine keeping this continuous process going. And of course, in this physical reality, one of the major things that plays into our lower nature is money. The pursuit of money can cause people to just completely give up all their morals. Like they say, the love of money is the root of all evil. It's not necessarily the money itself, but that relentless pursuit of it that causes people to feed into that lower side of themselves and to give into quote unquote sin. Or we could look at it as to co-sign themselves to that sine wave, trapping themselves in that cycle of time or reincarnation. And when you look at the most recognizable symbol for money, the dollar sign, you can see that you have what looks like the letter S with a line going through it. And if you look into the history of why this letter S with a line going through it was chosen to represent the dollar, they'll tell you that there's theories about where this thing came from, but nobody really knows where this thing came from. It's got this mysterious origin to it. But if you take that dollar sign and you just turn it sideways, you'll see that you have something that looks almost identical to a sine wave. I mean, it looks just like a sine wave on a graph. So you got a question, is this subliminally trying to tell us something? Remember again, the love of money is the root of all evil. Or in other words, if you allow that pursuit of money to control you, it can potentially cultivate that evil within you and disrupt that balance, allowing matter to take over the mind, which leads to you giving in to sin. And we know sin is going to lead you to the sine wave, being attached to that frequency of sin and being stuck in that loop of time. And remember the mythology. Who is the god of time? Saturn. And remember, in Mesopotamian mythology, Sin is the god of the moon. And as far as Saturn, all of this stuff dealing with reincarnation seems to be pointing to Saturn's Death Star moon. And one of the easiest ways to get you caught up in the material world, caught up in money, is consumerism, making you feel like you need things that you don't actually need. And of course, again, this is one of those things that they use these celebrities to promote and to push, that overindulgence into the material world and that extreme level of consumerism. And when you go into a store and you physically buy things, what do? You scan a barcode. And if you look at a standard barcode, every single line on the barcode is going to represent a different number. And two lines paired together at this width would represent the number 6. And on every single barcode, you have 3 enlarged versions of these lines. 3 lines representing the number 6, meaning that every barcode is encoded with 666. And of course, we know 666 is referring to this flesh in the material world that we live in. The 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons that make up the majority of this material world and that come together to form these human bodies. That carbon 12 that represents the lowest possible version of us. And remember, you've also got those hexagons on Saturn. And with the hexagon, you've got 6 sides, 6 vertices, and 6 angles. 666. And if you look at the original patent for the barcode and what it was originally supposed to be and what it was originally supposed to look like, you can see that the original design for the barcode was going to be a bullseye, multiple rings surrounding that circle in the middle. This is what every single barcode was originally supposed to look like. And they even did a trial run with these first barcodes. And you can find pictures out there of them testing these original barcodes. And I think it's pretty obvious what we might be looking at here. When we're looking at this bullseye, we very well could be looking at Saturn. I mean, all you got to do is place an overhead view of Saturn right next to these barcodes. And it's almost like you can see where the inspiration for these things came from. Remember, Saturn is going to lead you to Satan, the devil, Pan, the Baphomet, your lower self. And what else leads you to your lower self? That overindulgence into the material world, consumerism. And it is like they're just giving it to you, clear as day. That bullseye, or in other words, the eye of the beast, is going to lead you to Saturn. And in order to win the game, what do? You hit the bullseye. You hit the bull's eye. Or in other words, you conquered that beast inside of you. That beast that feeds into your lower self, your animalistic nature. And just like that beast inside of you is the target for you to conquer, it's also the target of those looking to keep you trapped in that continuous cycle of sin. Hit the notification button and you'll get updated as soon as a new video drops.